Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is that you're joining me for this video. Thank you once again for clicking on the PenBoyRoy Fountain Pen Review channel. Before I get started, I hope you guys can check out the link below. It's going to be a link to the Goldspot Pens video. A couple of weeks ago, Goldspot Pens invited me down to their offices. There, I was able to direct a quick skit as well as be involved in an interview where Tom and I discuss fountain pens, fountain pen topics, stuff like that. I was the first official guest on the Goldspot Pens channel. It was an honor for me. Speaking of links, I'm also going to include a link to a newbie fountain pen reviewer like myself who I corresponded with here and there. Her name is Shari. She put up a review so far of the Franklin Christoph 66, so you should check out her videos. What you'll find is a nice, charming, charismatic, humorous lady who has a very deep passion for fountain pens. I think that it's important to spread the fountain pen love virus, and in order to do so, we need to support newer reviewers and help them in their endeavor to spread the fountain pen virus. So please click on her link, like and subscribe. It'll be much appreciated by myself and, of course, her. So, Shari, keep up the good work. Love it. The subject of today's video is going to be this pen here, the Laban Taroko Artist Sunrise Blue Fountain Pen. Now, before I get into the neutral zone, the good, the bad, the ugly, and high noon on this pen, I want to go over some background information starting with the brand. I've done this before, so I'm going to course through this really quick. 1981, John and Charles Hugh. They started a brand called Laban. They wanted to make really good fountain pens. They did. The Pope ended up using one. It was all caught on camera. Big, huge deal. They've been in business since then. The pens are made in Taiwan. Now, the name Taroko, I believe, comes from the Tarako National Park located in Taiwan. And in that national park is also a gorge called the Taroko Gorge. That is also in Taiwan. So I'm just thinking there's a possibility that they named the pen after the national park. Big brains. So that's pretty much my background information. The pen's made in Taiwan. They named it after a place in Taiwan. It looks really nice. Moving on to the neutral zone. Those elements about the pen that are neither good or bad, or could be good or bad depending on you. Let me start with the nib. The nib is a number 6 standard size German-made Schmidt nib. It's two-tone, mine is a fine. This pen does not have a nib unit, meaning you can't unscrew the feed in the nib with the housing and then just swap it out with another one. However, what you can do is you can actually get a grip, grab the nib and the feed and pull it out and replace the nib if you so choose. The feed is the same cheapy plastic feed that you see in a lot of the Jinhao pens and Jaffa distributed pens such as Stipula, Monteverde, Conklin. The cap is a solid piece of acrylic with a tension fit clip, meaning there's no spring mechanism like you would see inside of Visconti or higher end pens. The clip is adhered using an anchor piece that goes inside the body of the cap and then is then screwed to the underside of the top of the cap using a screw, and then it's covered with a piece of plastic or a piece of rubber that's black in color. The clip is then secured to the anchor piece by what looks like 2 bolts on the underside of the clip. It has a substantial amount of tension, but it's nice and secure when it's in your pocket. The center band is plain and simple. It just says Laban on it. That is all. The clip shape has a cigar shape. It's pretty similar to the rest of the entire pen, actually. It's also shaped something like a spaceship. The cap screws and unscrews in 1.5 turns. The threads on the cap and the body are both acrylic. So you have acrylic on acrylic. It's very smooth. Similar to that what you would see inside of an Edison pen. It is just pleasurable just to twist it and untwist it, screw it and unscrew it without any good purpose or need to do so. Our grip section is black in color. It's made of plastic. It has a slight taper with a slight flare at the end. Right at the end. The step and the threads on the pen are not too obtrusive. They are noticeable, but for high pen grippers, it's not going to be distracting and it's not going to be bothersome. The threads on the grip section are in fact metal, and the threads on the body of the pen are acrylic. So here's where you have acrylic on metal threading. Some people care, some people don't. I don't care. This pen fills using cartridges or converters. It is not eyedroppable. But this is not only not eyedroppable, it is super non-eyedroppable. Do not eyedrop convert this pen. I'll explain more on that later. This pen came in your standard Laban clamshell case box with a booklet and international warranty. A converter was included, but there were no ink cartridges. Now, for me, I don't like to use cartridges. I usually just store them. That may not be a big deal for some, and it might be a turnoff for others. For me, it's not. Enough of the neutral zone. Moving on to the good. Those elements about the pen that are good. I'm going to start with the nib, as I usually do. Now, I like the nib. It feels a lot like a number 6 Yovo nib, but it's not nearly as stiff. It has a soft element to it, as well as a lot of bounce. I really like it. Additionally, and this is actually a cool feature that I've been noticing more and more with new pens that I get that have steel nibs, there's an impressive amount of line variation. Now, when I write with this, I can feel the bounce and I can feel the difference between your standard Yovo nib or your standard Bach nib that's stiff as a nail. This one is not. This one has a lot of bounce, it has a lot of snap, and I can get a good amount of line variation. This is pretty unusual for steel nibs, but I've been seeing them more and more nowadays with the steel nibs that I'm buying. It's a very smooth nib with slight tooth and feedback. The acrylic is very unique in design. Now, to me, it looks like that this acrylic has a base color that is clear, and what they then did is they squirted different pastelish colors into the mix, similar to how if you had a clear glass of water and you started squirting different colors of ink into the water, how the ink would then start swirling through the water. That's what this looks like, frozen in time. What that does is it gives it a very Impressionist era look. It also has a very pastel look to it. It's very nice, it's very beautiful. It's very unique, and it has a very rich look to it. Moving on to the bad. Let's talk coin. Okay, this pen has an MSRP of $130. At Goldspot Pens, it's discounted at $103. Not a bad price for what you're getting. I always find Laban to be always worth more than what the asking price is. With regard to the bad, there isn't much that I can say about the bad. So enough of the bad. Moving on to the ugly. Those elements that should not be, but are. Fair warning, at this point in time, I am about to go off on an entire tangent. There's not much ugly about this pen, except for one very minor thing. If you look at the body of the pen, like a telescope, what you're going to see is at the very bottom of the pen, you're going to see that there is a pinhole. Why? I can't think of one single reason why a pinhole at the bottom of the body is beneficial or necessary. At first I thought maybe it's to eliminate any possibility of any kind of burping due to being outside in the cold and then coming inside where it's warm and then you're writing and it burps. But that doesn't make sense. That's less of an issue because it's a cartridge converter filling fountain pen, and the airspace between the converter itself and the fountain pen wall would prevent that more than if it were eyedropper filled. So what is the best insulation against temperature? Empty space. Take a styrofoam cup. Why is it the coffee stays hotter in the styrofoam cup? Because there's more empty space in between the walls and the gaps of the styrofoam and the coffee. So how does adding a pinhole help? It does not. In my opinion, science doesn't support the benefits of a pinhole at the bottom of a pen. And I can't say it's a quality control issue because if it were, it's just too massive of an issue to have dropped the ball on. There's a pinhole at the bottom of every pen. That can't get past quality control, and Laban's not known to be that poor with quality control. So, the only thing I can think of is, and it's baffling, it was intentional. And if it is intentional, I mean seriously, who the hell is making decisions over there at Laban? I need to know who is the dude who's running his meetings at work and he's like, hey, listen, guys, we need change. We need to innovate. We need something that no one has ever seen before. And then I also need to know who is the one guy in the back of the room going, I have it. We need to add a pinhole to the bottom of the pen. And then, where was everyone else telling the first guy, dude, you're an idiot, when he told the second guy, great idea, that is what we're missing, we are going to add pinholes to the bottom of our pens. Yes, this is the kind of thinking that our company needs. I don't get it. I wish my fountain pen had a butthole. Said no one ever in the history of fountain pens. I just can't get it. It blows my mind. These people must be really against eyedropper pens. That or whoever it is that designed it was sitting there eating Swiss cheese all day long and couldn't get the concept of throwing holes into everything out of their head, so they're just going to start throwing holes in everything. Put a hole in that, put a hole in that. How does it get past quality control without the hole? Hey, bring that pen back over here. There's no hole in it. Put a hole in that pen. I don't get it. In any event, it's high noon. Decision-making time. Should you or should you not pull the trigger on the Laban Taroko Artist Fountain Pen Sunrise Blue? In spite of my rant on the ugly and what I think is the risk of a converter leak and then the ink dripping out of the oh so brilliant pinhole that they decided to put at the bottom of the pen, given how well it writes and given how beautiful it is, I would say honestly at $103, definitely pull the trigger. Laban, if you're watching this, in the future, no more orifices in pens, please. They're not necessary. And if you found some scientific miracle as to why a pinhole is necessary at the bottom of the pen, please inform us. It isn't a big deal for me, and it isn't a deal breaker for me, but for every one of me, there's one person out there that it breaks the deal for. Okay, pens are not creatures. They don't need a butthole. If this pen decides to leak, or the converter decides to leak, guess what? Whatever shirt I'm wearing, if it's not the same color as my ink, I'm staining my shirt. Are you going to be responsible for my shirt, Laban? I don't think so. Just saying. But I still love the pen. This pen was purchased at Goldspot Pens at a discount for a fair, unbiased, and honest review. Aspects about reviews that I dedicate myself to on a regular basis. Thank you again for watching, guys, and don't forget about the PenBoyRoy Fountain Pen Review Channel discount code. How it works is this: you email me, I'll email you back a coupon code. That coupon code is exclusive to my viewers. You call up Goldspot Pens, dial 207#. You get in touch with a nice lady named Dawn Johnson. Dawn Johnson will then give you a discount that is only available to PenBoyRoy Fountain Pen Review Channel subscribers, and it's not available to the general public. This has been my review on the Laban Taroko Artist Sunrise Blue Fountain Pen. I hope it helped. Be well, be safe.